ages this has been on my TBR. Our second roll, we get 6. Not even a little bit. I don't know what this is about at all. Yay! Loves, it's Tatiana Volk here, and today we're doing my tabletop TBR game. Yay! Okay, so for January, I wanted to create my own TBR game. As you guys probably know if you're part of the BookTube community, there are a bunch of amazing TBR games out there, and I was inspired by a couple of really awesome booktubers. We've got a Becca's Bookopoly, we have Book Roast's Avatar TBR game, I keep forgetting what the actual name is, and then we have Olivia's Wheel of TBR, which are all really awesome ones. I've also seen some other ones which were pretty cool, and I really wanted to make one of my own. I did want to go with a small style. I love things that are small, that way it can fit in like my planner or something like that. And I ended up spending all day yesterday kind of printing things out and getting it set up. So I thought it would be fun, even though it's the middle of the month, to pick the tabletop TBR picks for January. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's get into some of the rules for the game. First off, I do have my TBR cart here. The game technically isn't limited to this cart, although I will probably try to pick from here first. I also have a tracker system with a reward that is predetermined. Since this year I'm going on a no spend for most of the year, so I figured my reward would be different ways of purchasing stuff. So in this case, it's $25 to use towards books. So that's my reward for finishing this. It should take a couple of months, and there are different ways of marking things off of my tracker. So here we have all of the pieces. We have our tracker, which can be updated during the game, but will mostly be updated after the fact. Then we have the actual game board that we'll be using. So I have my little tracker here, along with a 6-sided die. This board, there is no way to get any of my punishment prompts aside from actually failing. So I do have some punishment cards, but we won't be using those in today's game. We have our benefit cards, which I will be able to pull from anytime I land on one of these heart symbols, or when I complete things on my tracker. And then last, we have the main TBR prompt cards, and these will be picked anytime I land on a blank. In addition to that, if I land on a double card, that means I have to pick 2 prompts. If I land on a little spinny thing, it means I have to re-roll. And then if I land on a question mark jar, that means I pick from my TBR jar. In addition to that, anytime you pass this star, you get to mark one off of the tracker, so that gives you a +1. My plan is to pick 5 each month because I'm a mood reader, so I don't want to have too many of these. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so 1. The first one is a true crime book. For the true crime pick, I ended up going with the closest thing that I have, which is Alcatraz from the Inside. I got this in summer 2019 when I actually visited Alcatraz for the first time. Born and raised in the Bay Area, never been to Alcatraz, but it was a really awesome experience, and I ended up getting a couple of books at the end of it, and this one I believe was written by one of the inmates about his experience. I believe he had a lesser crime, and I think he talks about some of the different people and things going on in there, and I thought it would just be interesting. So that's the first one. Our second roll, we get 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. book with an even number of pages. Next up, we have a book with an even number of pages. I ended up picking The Winter People, which has 382 pages, and I don't actually know anything about this. I personally like being unsure of what a book is about before I dive into it, so I will tell you a little bit more in the monthly wrap-up or in my weekly vlog. So if you're interested in that, definitely stick around. Otherwise, well, I know it's supposed to be a horror thriller type thing and it's set in a winter setting, and that's pretty much all that I know about it. It was suggested by, I believe, Gabby Reeds. I want the winter vibes. Like, I want those vibes. So next roll is 2, 1, 2. Okay, well, I picked 2, but I'll pick the one that I can see, which, oh, the other one was a good one, which is Face on the Cover. So any book that has a face on the cover. Then for face on the cover, I ended up going with Love Boat Taipei. I actually had a couple of books in mind, but I also want to read them next month, so I decided to pick a different one. So this is actually a signed edition, surprisingly. I do want to have a prompt that has signed editions in it, but now part of me is all like, but I'm using up my signed editions. I'm not going to have any once that prompt comes up. I have no clue. Not even a little bit. I don't know what this is about at all. Fresh, fun, heartfelt, and totally addictive. It's a story about finding your place and your people where you least expected. So that sounds pretty interesting. Don't really want to know too much more than that. It is a thick boy, but I do have the audiobook, so I should be able to fit it in, even though we're halfway through the month already. Okay, next one is another 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So one with a morally gray or villain POV. Might need to update the wording for that. Next up, for a morally gray or villain point of view, I ended up picking up Vicious, which I had in mind when I created that prompt because I've been wanting to read this forever. This is by V.E. Schwab, and as far as I know, it's a story about 2 characters who discover that near-death experiences can give you superpowers, and they work together to basically make themselves super people. And many years later, like, one of them I think ends up in prison and the other one doesn't. Neither of them are supposed to be good characters, I believe. At the beginning of this book, which is many years later, I think, they are mortal enemies, and it's kind of talking about, you know, their dynamics, their morally grayness, the situation that got them to where they are. But I am really excited to finally get around to this because, like I said, ages this has been on my TBR. Okay, and then our final roll for today is a 1, which is a double. Okay, so book with an odd number of pages. I'm going to skip this just because it's not interesting. No, I guess I can't. That's the whole point of this. For book with an odd number of pages, I was tempted to redraw this simply because we have the counterpart of this one. Getting one that's an odd number and an even number in the same go is really annoying. But I will say I found more books with even numbers, so this one was a harder pick regardless, so I'm glad I kept it, I guess. And it gave me the chance to add Lock Every Door to my TBR. And this one has 383 pages, so that works out. And then the last pick is a subscription box book. Okay, so I have a ton of those. And then for the last pick of the month, I got a subscription box book, and I decided to go old school and pick up one of my Page Habit book boxes. So Page Habit, unfortunately, is no longer around, but the benefit of this box is that the author ended up including little sticky notes with information or just like random thoughts and things about the book and the writing. And I always thought that was so cool and so exciting. So I really want to read this. I had this kind of on one of my weekly TBRs a while back and didn't get around to it. So hopefully this time I actually do, since not doing it, I'll get a punishment. So this is what we ended up picking. I did technically have one extra book for the month, and I ended up picking this last night when I completed printing out the game. I did a test run and decided to pick one that I'm going to be listening to today. This is Pride, a Pride and Prejudice remix telling, and it's by Ibi Zeboy. Yeah, and I'm just really excited about that. So I'm planning on starting this one today. As you can see, I have this in here. The prompt was by a BIPOC author, so this one ended up working out really nice. Okay, so these are all of the books that I'll be reading for January. It is the middle of the month already, but I am currently in a heavy reading mode, so I think that I'll probably be able to get through all of these. The only one that doesn't have an audiobook is the true crime pick, the Alcatraz from the Inside, so this will be one of my physical reads. I will probably split these up between my next 2 weekly TBRs to try and get through them, and I'll definitely use this as one of my physical reads. I don't know if I'll be adding another one, we'll see, and I'll probably do a little bit of physical reading with this one. Otherwise, most of these will be audio picks. I am an audiobook girl because I like to listen to audiobooks and do other things. But yeah, I am really excited about all of these books. I am also really excited to create my first little tabletop TBR game. This is a lot of fun. It will be developing over time. I'm going to write official rules. I do hope you really enjoyed this. Again, thank you to all the amazing YouTubers who have inspired this. There are so many now, but I'm pretty sure Becca's Bookopoly is one of the first ones. I was mostly introduced by G from Book Roast. I absolutely love her Avatar one, and as you can see, there's a lot of inspirations there. There will be different versions of this. Like I said, I'd like to do a couple of different board designs that I could swap through. But yeah, I think that's all that I have to say. Yeah, so subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I do a mixture of things. I'm doing a lot of book stuff right now, so if you're interested in that, do subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Until next time, bye!